Hey everyone, it has not even been a full month since the release of Season 6 of The Dragon Prince, and I haven't even been able to cover any of the things that I wanted to. However, recently, seemingly out of the blue, we got a Season 7 announcement trailer, giving us a clip of the new season already, and not only that, but we already have the release date? That's not even all. Along with all of this, we got 3 separate screenshots as well from Season 7, giving us even more to dissect. And so that is exactly what we will be doing today. We'll be taking a look at the clip and separate pictures and breaking down what we can determine from these things and seeing if we can craft some new theories based on these. Surprisingly, we might be able to tell a little more about what some of the plot of Season 7 might be. For those of you who are interested, I streamed shortly after these got released and did a longer form analysis. It gets a little bit crazy in the streams, but you're very welcome to check them out after, and I'm planning to stream every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. CEST, so that will be added to the schedule as well. I'd love to have you there, so feel free to join. Just to get it out of the way in the beginning, I do want to let you know that I am working on a longer series of videos reviewing Season 6, so if you're interested in my thoughts and analysis, make sure to stay updated. We'll cover every episode separately and then do one big video encompassing the entire season. Don't worry, there are also many theories and whatnot also coming out in between. All of that out of the way though, let's take a look at Season 7 of The Dragon Prince with the newest content that we got. Starting off with the announcement trailer itself, you can find it posted on the official YouTube and Twitter page of The Dragon Prince, and at just over 1 minute, it shows us a short clip of Astrid and Kosmo at the top of the star scraper. In short, what happens is that Astrid tells Kosmo that she no longer wants to just sit around, but actually be a part of changing things. Following her statement, she takes off her blindfold while in the sunlight, and as expected, her eyes do not take it lightly. There are some dramatic effects and all, but otherwise, that is it. Might not look like much, but this means that we will most likely get to see the first celestial elf to ever take off their blindfold, and that she will most likely join up with the gang in Season 7, meaning we get more Astrid. Therefore, probably also more Kosmo. That's honestly great news, because out of the characters that were introduced within their respective seasons, they were one of the most interesting and definitely one of the best ones. The craziest part is that in the end, we actually already got the official release date of Season 7 along with its name. For those of you who haven't heard already, it has now been confirmed again that Book 7 is called Dark. As for the release date, you can put the 19th of December in your calendars. This is so incredibly soon, like it's less than 5 months after the release of Season 6, which is honestly such an amazing choice since we already knew it should have been done in production, and it seems to be almost like a part 2 to Season 6. This way we have a bit more time to let Season 6 set in, while already starting to build up the hype for the next chapter of the show. I haven't covered this in a video yet, but it was also revealed that they have plans for an entirely new saga after Season 7 Dark, which still needs to be greenlit by Netflix. For more thoughts and theories on that, you can check out my stream at the time, but I will cover it in a video in due time. The fact that Season 7 is now confirmed to be called Dark and has the symbol of dark magic as its sign, I really hope that we get to see the origin of dark magic and what Aravos had to do with it. The clip itself obviously does not go into that at all, but it does give us a few new things to consider and think about. The real question is what this means in the grander scheme for Season 7 and maybe even beyond. Well, for one, there is a quick back and forth between the two where Astrid tells Kosmo that he should know everything, namely what she's doing currently. He just laughs it off, saying that it's not how that works, but that brings me to my first point on this clip. I really worry that we will simply never really understand how exactly his powers work. It was made purposefully vague and unclear in Season 6, for one, to enhance the mystery of achieving this state, and therefore making it more interesting and open for different avenues to use these abilities. The way they approached it in Season 6 was genuinely really cool and stylized. The problem is only that with great power comes many questions, mainly questions on why these powers can't solve other problems. You see, the less clear we are about what Kosmo can and cannot do while remaining in a state of seemingly very powerful, it will be hard to take threats seriously, knowing that Kosmo could maybe just allow the team to try as often as they like, figuring out which path leads them to victory. Maybe a less theoretical point is something you may have noticed when watching the clip, but since this is the top of the star scraper, this is the same star dome, as I have called it, that Callum took off from in order to find his one true star. We can actually verify this quite easily by looking at the floor that we see in the trailer trailer compared to the floor that we have analyzed quite a bit now. And look at that, they are a perfect match. However, as you may have noticed now looking at the two frames, something quite important is missing from the trailer. That is right, there are no pillars in sight. I talked about this on stream as well as for what the reason for this could be. The first thought was that they wouldn't appear in the daytime, and similarly to the top of the dome seemingly dissipating when it opens, maybe so do the pillars if it isn't dark enough or something like that. That was quickly debunked though, since if we look at the scene of Rayla and Callum getting ready to fly back, they are in the same spot during the day, the sun is shining as well, and yet the pillars are there. Another thought was whether it could be that this scene takes place after Aravos came and took the stuffs, or something happened to them. But no, there's no sign of any struggle having happened. The building looks fine and so do Astrid and Kosmo. Also, I don't think they would intentionally give us such a big plot point this early in the reveal season. The only real explanation I was left with was one of two things. Either the animators just kind of forgot that this is where the pillars were supposed to go, since based on the fact that every single pillar is clearly one model being rotated, they all have the exact same wear and tear and just look too identical. So I wouldn't put it past them to just have forgotten. I mean, they forgot Rayla has horns for the entire sequence of stopping Esmeralda. The other would be that not including the pillars is actually an artistic choice. I could imagine that this scene is meant to symbolize Astrid freeing herself both metaphorically and literally of her blindfold. They wanted the background of the scene to mimic that. The open sky captures that really well, but having pillars in the background would take that skyline out of the view and not give us the same impression. Also, it might clutter the frame a little too much, seeing as the kind of shots they went for did try to encapsulate this free space with a smaller point of focus or close-ups with the actual characters, where they should be the sole subject of the shot. I will admit that that really is just shot composition, and if that truly is the reason, I think there would be better ways of getting the same effect without breaking continuity. However, it could also have a purely in-universe reason that we just do not know of yet. But seeing as we are most likely only getting information from very early on in the season, I assume that this happens in episode 1 or 2, and I just don't see what could possibly make this make sense. The other thing is the fact that when she takes off her blindfold, we get these very dramatic effects where her hair is all of a sudden in a large gust of wind, the sunlight gets anime streaks, and there seems to be a shockwave of some kind. Again, I think all of these are purely artistic choices and are not actually a consequence of the action of taking off a blindfold. I mean, who knows? Maybe Aravos just sneezed at the same time, which is where the sudden wind blast comes from. In all seriousness, while these artistic choices are fine, I guess, I just hope they don't expect them to carry the weight that scenes are supposed to carry through characters, writing, and action. This might all come across a little nitpicky, and I do apologize for that, but I do enjoy thoroughly analyzing shots and the show in general, and that is, after all, one of the things that you'll get here on this channel. No, but my point is more that these choices are something that we saw less in the early seasons, where the biggest artistic difference was the low frame rate, but that was due to budget and time restraints. Clearly, those have cleared up somewhat, and the frame rate looks much more polished. However, the low frame rate came across as more stylistically unique, whereas the more recent issues have been the result of oversight. I will go into this more in my reviews of season 6, since there are already some things to notice then. This does bring us to the next part of the video though, where we have gotten new screenshots from season 7. They were released on Twitter as well through various official channels that released them with the official announcement of the Dragon Prince season 7 Dark. The way we will cover them will be a little bit different this time around, so hold on as I take you to Live Hey. Alright, Live Hey here, and these are the 3 pictures that we have gotten, and we're just gonna quickly cover all of them. In the first one, we have Rayla and Runan. Runan does have a shirt on right now, which is different to how we saw him the last time. We don't see how his horn is broken or not, but we do know from season 6 at the end that it was indeed broken, which means that this is after he was captured, obviously. Another important thing, well, it's not that important, I guess, but this shirt does look quite similar to Rayla's shirt that she has on in her pajamas. It isn't quite the same. If we quickly do a comparison, we can actually see it is quite different, so it might not be the same shirt, but maybe also it has ripped. It does seem to be a bit worse for wear, and we can see it is clearly too short for him. Both have the long sleeves, so maybe? For the actual important things though, if we look at the background, we can see that clearly this seems to be the Banther Lodge, which does make sense because if we look at the map of Zadia, they started off all the way here at the moon nexus and they need to reach the castle of Catullus, and we know that the Banther Lodge is somewhere on the way here. So it would make sense that they stopped at the Banther Lodge in order to pick up some supplies and maybe also get Runan some clothes. Also, if we go back to the picture, this river does seem to be quite similar to the one that we saw in season 1, so I do think that these are the same locations. Actually, looking at the picture though, we can see that both of them are ready to fight. Probably someone is approaching, but they don't seem mad or anything, so we're not quite sure who it could be, but they do seem a little bit uneasy. Now going on to the second picture, here we have Corvus, Callum, and Ezrin all at the gate of Catullus. Also, if we look at the bottom right, and also we can see some embers right here, clearly this is still right after the Battle of Catullus, so I'm assuming that this is in the first episode where they go and check out the ruins. If we look at the faces of all the characters, we can see Corvus seems a bit concerned, Callum looks very tired, and Ezrin looks determined. From what we know, this is kind of the same direction that they would be going if they would be going towards the pile where Viren was, and they don't actually know what happened here. So for all we know, they will be checking out the pile, seeing Viren there, and they might get a very different idea of what happened. Also, if we look at Zim, he clearly is not very interested and more interested in the mounts. Something we can most likely say is that Ezrin and Corvus use these Sunfire mounts to come all the way from Luxoria to, first of all, the Banther Lodge, and this is who they are meeting. That way, it would make sense that they have met up before going to Catullus, and once again, the Banther Lodge is on the way to Catullus. Last but not least, we have the picture of Ezrin and Queen Anya here together. We don't quite know exactly where this is. The bridge does look very similar to the bridge that we saw in season 1 and 2 at the Banther Lodge, which means that this could be them meeting up there again, but I assume that this is a bit later on than the other pictures because here we see that there are only 2 mounts for these 2 people, so I'm guessing Anya came later. It is important also to mention that if we look at the map once again, Durin and Catullus are right next to each other, and since Anya is the queen of Durin, I assume that she will be offering her help for the people of Catullus to now be able to move to Durin and at least stay there until they figure out what to do with the remains of Catullus. Obviously, we also have Bait here, but this is where we see something that is a bit worrying. If we zoom in really closely, we can see that it looks like Bait is floating. This seems to be a quite easy mistake to not have happen, since all we would need is just to move Bait down a little bit. But if we look at the other pictures as well, we can also see that Runan's hair is also missing some texturing. This does kind of worry me that these are unfinished shots, but at the same time, why release 3 shots where 2 of them would be unfinished? This does make it more likely to me that the pillars that we saw in the clip are unfinished as well, and most likely due to them having forgotten to put them in. And that brings us back to the beginning of the video where I mentioned how crazy it is that we are getting this next season so soon after the previous one. On the one hand, I am super glad, since it will make sure that the hype doesn't fade as much but can only build up more, and that they can get a gauge for Netflix whether or not the 3rd arc will be greenlit or not. What I'm worried about is it coming out a bit rushed and not as polished as it could be. So far, the Dragon Prince was able to stay away from that for the most part, with the downside of longer wait time, but at least the finished product seemed finished. For those who weren't aware, the production and writing of season 4 to 7 were all happening at the same time, which does make me more hopeful that they've actually had a lot more time to work on the season than we realize. But already with season 6, we got a full scene where Rayla's horns just weren't animated, and I just hope that this is not something that will carry over. I'm still super excited. Maybe I'm a little more critical than others when this announcement trailer came out, but I do enjoy analyzing things, and I think it's important to also voice concerns. I love this show, so I really only want the best for it, and the producers and the fans, of course, as well. That being said, I would love to hear your thoughts on this announcement. The release date was originally supposed to come out later, but due to an article coming out that would have had the release date in it, we already have it now. Are you guys just as excited? Let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, make sure to subscribe and like the video. We'll be doing many reviews of season 6, breakdowns, news, and of course, theories. You're very welcome to join our community on Discord as well. We even have art competitions every week. The link is in the description. Twitter is also a place you'll find me where we can chat, and of course streams that will be happening every Saturday like previously mentioned. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so overwhelmed by the amount of support you guys give. Take care. Bye.